Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good to see you today. And by the way, happy Father's Day to all the dads that are with us today. And we're going to pray for our dads at the end of the service. And we're just honored. I'm honored to be here today. I'm having lots of fun. This is my second week getting the honor of preaching for you guys here at Weber Street. And it's really exciting just to see what God's doing here in this church and in your lives. And so we're just grateful, and we're excited about what God's going to do today. So I'm just going to say a quick prayer before we get started. God, we're just so thankful for a place to come and worship together, for this band to just lead us in worship, to bring your spirit here in this place, and open our hearts and minds to hear from your word today as we talk about love. In Jesus' name, amen. A couple of quick announcements to let you know. On Tuesdays, right here at the church at noon on Tuesdays, we're having a free cookout. Hamburgers and hot dogs, chips and soda. And we're just doing that to get to know some of the folks here at Weber and to get to know some of the staff. So everyone's welcome. Bring a friend. Just come by the church on Tuesdays at noon for something to eat, and bring your kids. And it's a great time to get to know each other. Then on Wednesday mornings at 6:30, there's a men's Bible study here at Weber Street with Jason Epperson at 6:30 in the morning. That's really early, isn't it? Every now and then I have to lead that, and I have to get up, really early, 5:30 or something, to get this hairdo just right. So then at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, we have a Bible study right down in Fellowship Hall, and we're going through the Bible. We just ended the book of Daniel, and we're going to be studying the book of Esther starting this Wednesday, and everyone's welcome for that. We have donuts and coffee and lots of fellowship. There's probably 30, 35 of us, so you come on, be a part of it. We'd love to have you. I want to talk today about the power of love. The power of love. 1 John 4, 7 and 8 says, "Beloved, let us love one another. For love is from God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who loves not knows not God, for God is love. So, beloved, let us love one another." Love is an interesting, powerful thing, and I think it's really the most important thing we can talk about. We learn in the Bible that if you don't have love, you've got nothing. That the whole church is built upon God's love for us and our love for Him and our love for others. And that is the foundation of every church. If you could kind of symbolize a foundation of a building that goes down deep into the dirt and all they dig down deep, that's kind of like love. And if anything you build without love will fall apart, will waste away. There was this young girl, and she was talking to her fiance, and she said, "Honey, when we get married, I want to share all your worries, your troubles, and I want to lighten your burden." And he said, "Well, that's very kind of you, darling, but I don't have any worries or troubles." She said, "Well, that's just because you're not married yet." I didn't say that. Kids have really funny ideas about love. When kids say, you remember that old show, Kids say the funniest things, right? So they asked some kids what they think about love, and this is what they said. They said, "If falling in love is anything like learning how to spell, I don't want to do it. It takes too long." Little Johnny said this, "Love is like an avalanche where you have to run for your life." Greg said this, "I think you're supposed to get a shot with an arrow or something like that, but the rest of it isn't supposed to be so painful." Love is the most important thing in the world, but baseball is pretty good too. "Once I'm done with kindergarten, I'm going to go find myself a wife," little Tommy said. And Ava said this, "One of you should know how to write a check, because even if you have lots of love, there's still going to be lots of bills." Boy, she had it figured out, didn't she? Love is a powerful, powerful force, isn't it? Think about it. Think about it. If we didn't have love, we wouldn't have any songs on the radio. Almost every song is written about love. Every good movie has a little love story with it, right? Think about how many movies are based upon love stories. Lives have been lost and won over love. Kingdoms have risen and fallen over love, right? It's such a powerful thing in our life. It's more powerful even than the Chicago Cubs. I know that's hard to imagine that, but it is. Love is a powerful force. Even Solomon who was known to be the wisest man of all time. Remember, Solomon even said, love is a mystery to me. It's even hard for me to understand. That's what he wrote. And he figured I had knowledge of everything. He had everything in the world, but he says, I can't quite figure out this thing about love. How to get it, how to hold it, and why is it such a powerful thing? Why will people do anything for love? Have I ever told you the story about how my wife and I fell in love? Well, I met my wife right here at Weber Street, right? She was sitting right over there, right over there, right where you are. And she was sitting with her grandparents, and she would come to church here, and she was going to the U of I, and at that time they had a van that would go over and bring college students over to church. And so they would bring her. So my mom came home one night, and she said, oh, honey, I have found your wife. Leave it to you always got to listen to your mother, right? And I don't know what Dad thought about it, but Mom was thinking about me. Dad knew like, oh, he doesn't need to get married. He don't need to get married. My mom wanted to get me married. So there's just two new girls at church, Marla and Carla. They were best friends. But she says, Marla's the one for you. So I thought, okay, I'll go for Marla, right? Listen to your mother. You always got to listen to your mother. So my friend set up this blind date, right, with her. I hadn't seen her or anything. So we went on this, and I said to my friend, Brad Houck, my best friend, I said, Brad, well, what do I do if I see her for the first time? And, she's just not what I was dreaming of. And, and I want to get out of the date. What do I do? He goes, I got it. If you see her and she's not quite pretty enough and you want to get out of the date and you think this is not going to work, just fake like you're having an asthma attack. And then she'll say, it's okay, just forget the date, you can go home and you'll be out of it. And I said, good plan. So I drove over to her house, and I pulled up there, and she was living with her grandparents at the time over in Champaign. And I walked up to the door, and I rung the doorbell, and the door opened, and there before me was Marla. She was an angel. I thought I heard angels singing, oh, when the door opened. And I thought, man, this is the best day of my life. She was beautiful. She took one look at me and went, no, that's not true. I did get lucky. Love is mentioned 700 times. 700 times in the Bible. It's so important. Some of the greatest stories in the Bible are about love. You know some of them. David and Bathsheba, right? Samson and Delilah. Mary and Joseph. What a great love story about faith and dedication. Abraham and Sarah. So the Bible is full of love and couples, and we get all kinds of great stories about what love is really all about. And then in 1 Corinthians 13, which is the love chapter, we get sort of a outline of a ruler by what love really looks like if we're loving in a perfect way. So I thought we should read some of that. So I'm going to read some of 1 Corinthians 13. If you want to turn to that, you can read it along with me. And I'll start in verse 1. Go through verse 7, then we'll jump up to verse 13. So 1 Corinthians 13, verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men and angels, but I do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy, and I can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have faith that could even move a mountain, but I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and I give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Because love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, and it does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. And it's not self-seeking. It is not easily angered, and it keeps no record of wrongs. Love doesn't delight in evil, but it rejoices whenever the truth wins out. It always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, and it always perseveres. Now there are three things that remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. I'm going to tell you three things on how we can love really well today. Three things that we can do to help us love like that. Now, we'll never be perfect like that, right? We'll never love exactly like that. That's sort of the ruler God's given us. So wake up every morning and go to bed every night and think, how did I do on the love scale? Did I love like that? Was I rude? Was I selfish this week, today? And there's not going to be a perfect day, but you always look at it and think, God, that's what I want to be. I'm just telling you, that's what I want to be. That's how I want to love. Help me to do that. So let me give you 3 things that you can kind of think about that will help get us on the right track. First of all, love always forgets the past. Second of all, love makes the best of the present situation. And third, love always hopes for the future. That'll be easy to remember. Past, present, and future. So let's talk about how love forgets the past and why that's so important for us to love. There's a story told of an elderly couple that was getting on in years, and they went to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, you're both doing pretty good physically, but you could use a little help with remembering things. So the doctor said, why don't you just start writing things down, and that will help you out a lot. And that just happens to us as we get older. So that night they were watching TV, and the husband gets up and starts to walk into the kitchen, and the wife says, honey, when you're in the kitchen, could you get me a bowl of ice cream? He said, sure, no problem. He starts to walk away, and she says, well, aren't you going to write that down? He goes, no, bowl of ice cream. I can remember that. And as he's walking toward the kitchen, all of a sudden she says, on the ice cream, would you put some strawberries on top? This is making me hungry. And he says, sure, no problem. She goes, are you going to write it down? He goes, I don't need to write it down. Ice cream, strawberries, I got it. She goes, you better write it down. I don't need to write it down. So he sits a little farther, and she goes, honey, one more thing. On top of those strawberries, would you put some whipped cream on there? He says, I got it. Ice cream, strawberries, whipped cream. So you better write that down. He says, I don't need to write it down. I got it. I can remember 3 things. No problem. And he's kind of irritated with her. She goes, okay. So he's in the kitchen, and she hears clanging around in there for about 15 minutes, And all of a sudden, he's in there clanging. And out he comes, right, with a plate. He hands it to her, and it's a plate of bacon and eggs. And she looks at him and says, you crazy old man, where's the toast? I think they were both having a little problem remembering, weren't they? But in the area of love, it's really a good thing to be forgetful when it comes to love. Paul said, the one thing I do in the Bible, remember he said I do, is I forget the past and I look forward to the future. Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, Paul, who used to go by the name of Saul when he was persecuting Christians, women, men, and children. And he was a terrorist against Christians when he was Saul. And God got a hold of his life and transformed him. And he became Paul, changed his name, went on missionary journeys, became one of the greatest disciples, wrote most of the New Testament that we have, that we read the letters to the churches. That was this guy. Paul had a lot to forget, didn't he? When he says, the one thing I do is forget the past. Of anybody in this room, Paul had the most to forget. It's hard to forget the past, isn't it?
Amen.
It's hard to forget because we know our past. Sometimes it's easier to accept God to forgive us than it is to forgive what? Ourselves. We're the hardest person on ourselves. But Paul says, the one thing I do is I forget the past and look forward to the future. We need to forget our past. Forgive ourselves. Forgive those who have wronged us in the past. Everyone in this room have had a past of somebody who has wronged you. Maybe you've let that go. But maybe today you're over here and you're still holding on to that. Because sometimes it feels good to hold on when somebody hurts you, right? Because as a Christian, I can't get them back. But the one thing I can do is I can just not forgive them. And we think by not forgiving them, I'm getting them back. But someone once said, unforgiveness is the poison you swallow, hoping the other person will die. Oh, I'll get him back. I just won't forgive him. I just won't look at him. I won't treat him the same. I'll just be... And that'll get them. And what happens? You become this bitter person. It kills you. They go on just living their normal life. So it's so important for us to think about people who have hurt us. It's a daily decision, isn't it? It almost happens daily. Somebody cuts you off in their car. Well, just, let it go, right? Let it go. Forgive them. Doesn't it happen every day? You choose. When somebody has wronged you, or you have felt wrong, to say, God, I'm going to let that go. I'm just going to forgive them. That's in my past. And if I love you and I want to learn how to love others, I got to learn how to forget and forgive. Love does not hold grudges, 1 Corinthians 13 says. It will hardly even notice when others hurt you. We learn to love when we learn to forget and forgive others in our past. Second of all, love makes the best of your present situation. You ever heard this phrase, when life gives you lemons, make? You got it. You know it, right? Love always finds a way. Perfect love finds a way to be positive. And I can say I'm honored today that my mom and dad are here, and they are some of the most positive people I have ever met. Never putting me down, always looking at the things that happen. What's going to get better? It's okay. We'll work it out, right? Staying positive. It's easy to be negative, right? Negative comes natural to all of us, right? We don't have to work on being negative. We're just naturally negative. Being positive, even in a negative situation, takes a lot of work, doesn't it? It takes a lot of strength to do that. Paul said, who wrote most of the New Testament, this is the Paul who had lots of things to forget in his past, lots of sins. He said, because of Christ's love in me, I have learned to be happy in my present state. I've learned to be happy in my condition that I am in right now. Philippians 4:11. And Paul many times was in jail. He was being stoned, beaten. He was being tortured for his faith. He was shipwrecked a couple times, right? When he wrote most of the Bible of the New Testament, he was in jail when he wrote it. And jail back then wasn't jail today, right? It was a place that you go to die. But he said, I have learned to be content wherever I am. Boy, that's a powerful thing to say. That's a powerful attribute of love. Love learns to be content, loyal, and grateful and appreciative for what you have, not for what you don't have, not for what you wish you had, not for the life that you wish you always dreamed of. Well, when I was a kid, I never dreamed at this age this would be my life. Instead, you should say, this is my life and I'm grateful for it and I'm learning from it. And if this is what God has given me, I'm going to make the best of it, because that's what love does. It accepts where you are in life. It doesn't wish for another one. One of the great Christian missionaries, Jim Elliot, who was a missionary down in South America to the Auca Indians. And if you want to really see a great movie, see the movie Tip of the Spear. It's all about Jim Elliot and his group that worked with the Auca Indians down there in South America. Many times he was a family man, had a wife and children, and he was gone on missions for months at a time. And he prayed to the Lord, and he wrote this in his letters, and he says, I prayed to God, help me figure out how I can be gone so much from my family and wish that I was home. And I wish that I was somewhere else. But I'm here in South America, trying to translate the Bible, trying to preach the gospel to people that don't understand it at all. And I wish I was somewhere else. But God, settle in my heart the love to be where I'm at and to be settled for where I'm at in my life, what you have given me. And he said this, wherever you are, be all there. I remember we would take kids, I don't do it much anymore. I used to take youth group kids on mission trips to Mexico. And we probably went on 15 years of mission trips to Mexico. And we'd take kids for 7 days or 10 days. And that's a long time to be away from home when you're 14, 15, or 16, isn't it? It's a long way, and it's a hard place. It's a lot different than living here, going down into a third world country. And we would be there sometimes, and we'd be in the second day of our trip. Maybe a young man or a young gal would be crying, and she would be so homesick. And she'd just say, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And I get it, you know. And I would say, listen, you're going to go home, and in a week, you're going to think back and think, boy, I wish I would have made the most of it down there, because now I'm home. You know, I'm home. I blinked my eye and I was home. I should have stayed where I was. I should have been grateful for that moment and not wished it away. I tell kids all the time, listen, I know when you're young, you just can't wait till you're 16. And you just wish till you're 16. And then you're 16, you can't wait till you're what? 21. And then when you're 20, I can't wait till what? I get a car. Then I can't wait till I get married. Then I can't wait till we can buy a house. Then I can't wait till you have children. And you just sort of wish your life away by goal after goal. And after a while, all of a sudden, you realize every one of those moments in life came and passed me up. And I never appreciated them because I was always looking ahead to the next thing. This great writer, Irma Bombeck, she wrote this article one time about if I had to live my life over. Have you ever read that? And it's so good about helping us to be in the present, to loving our present situation and not always wishing it away, wishing it was different. She writes this, if I had to live my life over, I would have talked less and listened more. I would have invited friends over to dinner, even if the carpet was stained and the sofa was faded. I would have eaten the popcorn in the good living room and worried much less about the dirt when someone wanted to light a fire in the fireplace. I would have taken the time to listen to my grandfather ramble on about his youth. I would have never insisted the car windows be rolled up on a summer day just because my hair had just been teased and sprayed. I would have sat on the lawn with my children and not worried about grass stains. I would have cried and laughed less while watching television and cried and laughed more while watching Life. Instead of wishing away 9 months of pregnancy, I'd have cherished every moment and realized that the wonderment growing inside me was the only chance in life to assist God in a miracle. When my kids kissed me at the wrong times when I was busy, I would never have said, later, now go get washed up for dinner. There would have been more I love yous, more I'm sorries, but mostly given another shot at life, I would seize every minute, look at it, and really see it, live it, and never give it back. Life is such a gift. Not just a perfect life. Not just the life you always dreamed of. Not just when everything is just the way you always wanted it. Life, the life you have right now is your gift. And what you do with it is so important. It shows what kind of a loving person you are for yourself and for the God who gave it to you. Amen?
Amen.
So someone who loves will always forget the past, forgive others in their past, learn to love where you came from, those who have blessed you, those who have hurt you. Move into the present and love the present. Love the situation you're in. Love the gift of life that God has given you right now. And thirdly, love always gives hope for the future. You know, the opposite of love, of course, is probably hate, right? But I think also the opposite of love is not just hate, but it's also fear. We can look at our future with faith and love, or we can look at our future with fear and hate. Sometimes when we fear things, it drains all the love away from us, doesn't it? We're too afraid to love. We're too afraid of what might be, what might happen. Now, I'm a Cub fan. I've mentioned that a couple times. And as a Cub fans are very unique. You can always find one. First of all, they're all sitting on this side of the room. But Cub fans have had their hearts broken about 1,000,000 times. And it eats away at the soul of a man, you know. And what I do now is I'll record all the Cubs games. And then if they win, I'll watch the game. I'll replay it and watch it. And guess what? When I'm watching it, am I fearful? No, because I know they win. So if they're down 4-0, no problem. Right? They're going to win. Last night, I recorded the game, right? And I found out they won, so I watched it back. Yeah, the Cubs got a 2-run home run by Mark Rizzo in the 9th inning to win. Now, I would have been so fearful and afraid and probably a little frustrated all the way up to the 9th inning had I watched it live. Now, I don't think that's being a good fan, do you? I think my wife, could she enjoys the drama of the game. I just enjoy the win, you know? So I do that, and it takes the fear away. And you know, in life, here's the privilege we have. We know that our life is in God's hands. Amen. He promises everything in the Bible. All these promises are for you. It's all been done. We can rewind the tape of our life, and we can just live our life now knowing no matter what happens in my life, my midlife, my older life, my elderly, whatever happens, it's okay. I'm going to heaven. He's made a promise for me. I've given him my heart. He's got heaven waiting for me. And anything I go through, I don't go through alone. He's always with me. All of my ups and downs, he'll always be with me. He'll never leave me. He'll be my best friend. He teaches me how to love. And when I mess up and I fall down, he picks me up. He doesn't just push me away and say, well, you're no good. I can't use you. He uses me in all my good times. He knows everything about me. And in that, you know, the song, Jesus Take the Wheel, right? So if Jesus is driving the wheel of my car, I can sit in the back seat and just fall asleep back there and take a nap, knowing he's driving. Maybe the roads get bumpy. Whoa, hey, Jesus. No, I know where he's going. I know he knows where he's going. right? He's got my life. I don't have to fear for the future. Love also helps us to see God's future for everybody else. True love looks beyond the surface of who you are, who I am, and into who I can become. Right? There's parts of me I don't like. But God not only sees that, He sees the Hank that can be. He sees the person you can be. He's already seen the person you're going to be. He has such a hope for you. Jesus showed that when He picked the disciples. Remember how He picked out the 12? Think about the men that He picked. Let's talk about Peter, this rough fisherman with anger issues, right? I'm sure if Peter was around today, he would have been in several 12-step programs for his anger issues, right? Peter. But because of Christ's love for him, he would be one of the greatest disciples and even go to a cross and die. Not a normal cross, tradition says. He was hung upside down on a cross for his faith. That's this guy with anger issues. Gave his life for Jesus. How about Saul? We've talked about him, who had his name changed to Paul. He was a passionate killer of Christians. But because of Christ's love for him, he was transformed into Paul and wrote most of the New Testament. And he was beheaded by Nero of Rome before his faith. You and I are no different than those guys, right? We're kind of a ragtag muffin group, right? God calls us. Look at me. Am I? Yeah, I'm just me. I've got so many issues. But Christ looks at my life and He says, you know what? I don't care about all that. I see you for who you can be. I was lost. I was selfish. I was broken, angry. But because of love, I'm saved, giving, healed, forgiven, and I can forgive because of Him. Not in my own power. Because of Christ's love, we can forget the past and forgive others. We can look at our present life and say, God, thank you. Yeah, there's things I wish were different. But I'm grateful that I can breathe today. I'm grateful for the gift of life You've given me. And I can wake up with hope to know that tomorrow is in Your hands. I don't have to worry about my life. I want the band to come up and we're going to prepare to sing a closing song, an invitation song today. Here's my challenge for you. Number one, just let love forgive your past. I think so many times we hold on to the things in our past. And they really hold us back from what we can be. We're our worst enemies, right? We look in the mirror and the person we look back is so much different than what everybody else sees, because we see all the ways that we failed Jesus. We see all the ways that we failed others. And He's not looking at that part of you. So forget your past. Forgive the people who have hurt you. Set yourself free when you forgive them. Second of all, make the best of each day. And just each day say, God, I'm grateful. We may be hurting. As we get older, we just hurt, right? We may not be well. We may be sick at times. And we may not have the body we once had and the life we had. And maybe we've lost our friends and we've lost some children. We've lost loved ones. But we can say, God, I'm grateful that You've given me this life. Help me to make the most of this day. And then we can wake up with hope to see the best in other people and to see the best in ourselves. Yeah, our family and friends aren't perfect. We can see the best in them. Let's look at what God can make them. Let's look at what God can make in us. Let's look and see what God can do with this family right here. Right? He has great plans. He sees Weber Street, the future. He sees what we can be. Let's look at His vision for us, not our vision for us. Here's my challenge. Let love forgive your past. Let love make you grateful for today and give you hope for the future. I'd like today all the dads in the room to stand up. We just want to pray for you, to honor you. All the dads in the room, if you want to stand up. Let's hear it for the dads. Let me pray for you. Stand. God, we're so grateful that You give us men. You call us to be these dads here, and God, you call us to father a whole generation, really. But we are so appreciative for the dads we have and just for the influence they've had. And none of us have been perfect dads. We haven't done it all right, perfect, but it doesn't matter. You don't see that. Thank You for the love You've put in them, and just give them a blessing today on this Father's Day. In Jesus' name. Let's all stand up and join the dads that are standing up, and we're going to sing this song. And as we sing, you may want to come forward during the song to give your heart to Jesus. Maybe you want to come to rededicate yourself. Maybe today you want to come and say, I need someone to pray with me, to help me forgive someone, to forgive myself. You can come during as the song sings, and you can also come at the end of the service if you don't want to get out of your seat during this time. But let's sing and let's ask God to come bless us, Lord.